What's going on, guys? It's Nick here, back with another video. Today I'll be talking about my pick for the biggest sleeper in drafts right now. I'll break down my top pick at each position and then throw in some honorable mentions as well. So let's get things started off at the quarterback position, where I narrowed it down to Daniel Jones and Jared Goff, but I've decided to give the very slight edge to Daniel Jones. Still like Goff as a pick late. Daniel Jones wins this one. His ADP is a quarterback 24 right now, but he's my quarterback 16 as of recording this. If we look back through last season, it is pretty difficult for him to have been worse, right? 220 passing yards per game, only 10 passing touchdowns to 7 interceptions, though to be fair, it wasn't all on him, right? It wasn't like he was surrounded with just abundant talent and he failed. Saquon got hurt. Galladay was hurt for a little bit. Tony was injured for part of it and also was very slowly brought on as a rookie. Sterling Shepard got hurt. Daniel Jones himself ended the season injured. So pretty miserable all around. And then when you combine that with the fact that, Jason Garrett was their offensive coordinator, which is just laughable, it was a really tough situation for him to succeed in. Now they have a coaching staff that we can trust a lot more. They hired Brian Daboll as their head coach. He, of course, is the offensive coordinator in Buffalo since 2018. They hired Mike Kafka as their offensive coordinator. He was the Chiefs quarterback coach and passing game coordinator over the last 2 seasons. So, very big upgrades over Jason Garrett. We'll kind of leave it at that, right? And their biggest upgrades are in the receiving game, right? These are people that we think are going to lean much more towards pass-heavy play calling and are good at calling plays in the passing game. So I'm expecting the Giants to lean very pass-heavy this season. And you have to think, with the pass catchers getting healthier, coming back, adding in Wan'Dale Robinson, he's going to improve. You just have to think, if people stay even remotely healthy this season, getting all those guys back, changing the coaching staff, he just has to get better. And then you consider, he was the quarterback 17 in points per game last season. With how bad he played, just because he can add rushing as well, he was a quarterback 17 in points per game. So he doesn't even need to be better as, what did I say, the quarterback 24 off the board right now. So I think he's a steal right now. I do expect his ADP to increase throughout the summer, but as of right now, I think he's got to be the biggest sleeper at the quarterback position. At running back, I've got a name that many of you are probably going to hate. I think you guys are going to hate the rest of this list, to be completely honest, but it's a sleeper list. These guys are going late for a reason. They are not locks to produce, but I think you guys are really not going to like this one. Pierre Strong, Patriots rookie running back, which right off the bat, people can be like, nope, not touching a Patriots running back, never mind, a rookie. But he's the 84th running back off boards right now. He's my running back 69, so not like a crazy steal, but I think he's a very smart player. If you're drafting right now, if you're drafting within the next few months and his ADP is still that low, he's a smart player to grab, because what I always talk about late is we want upside, we want players who can break out, but we also kind of want to know early in the season. And that's something we're definitely going to talk about with the wide receiver to end the video with. It's just someone that in week 1, we're going to have a pretty good idea of what his role is going to be. And if it's nothing, you can easily cut him for, whoever's hot on free agency early in the season. So we have that going for us. But also, I think right now everyone's scared of the New England backfield since there are just a million bodies, right? But we need to understand that it's extremely unlikely that they keep everyone. And we know that not everyone's going to be active on game days. There's probably only going to be 2 to 3 running backs active on game days. Right now, they have a billion guys. So figuring out who's going to be active, who's going to be playing in this offense is extremely valuable. So why Strong? Why did the Patriots even go out and get him when they had all these running backs? Well, he's good in pass protection. He's capable in the receiving game. He was the fastest, one of the fastest, if not the fastest, running backs in the draft class. That's something they wanted. They wanted to add speed. That's why they also drafted Thornton. They wanted speed to add to the team. So he's got all that going for him. They're also unlikely to sign Damian Harris after the season. His rookie deal is coming to an end. It just seems very unlikely. He is probably their best running back, but it's marginal. What the difference is, they know that running back's very replaceable. It's very unlikely they give him an extension. So given that he's probably not going to be on the team next season, you got to think, well, maybe they want to rotate another guy in, get him some reps as a rookie, and then maybe use him more in the second year. But then you also have James White as well. He's 30. He's coming off, major hip surgery. We don't know how he's going to look. He's not good to go yet. He did sign a 2-year deal this offseason, but that can also easily be ended after 1 year. So to me, the Patriots pick up Strong, thinking he's going to be their number 2 next season with like a decent role in early downs, but a large role on third downs and on passing downs. So why, get him this year, right? If that's their plan in the future, why would we draft him late this season? Well, because this is also assuming that they keep all of these running backs, but there are a number of teams that could use help at the position. Arizona is the biggest one that comes to mind, that maybe some team's going to be interested come August, come late July, in trading for Damian Harris, rent him for a season because he's earning nothing. He's on that last year of the rookie deal. Like, he's barely earning any money this season. So you could easily see a situation just like last year where the Patriots had Sony Michel and had all these running backs they drafted, Ramondre Stevenson. Everyone's like, well, Stevenson's not going to get any work. That's if they keep everyone, right? They end up trading away Sony Michel, and Stevenson gets a ton of work and he shatters his ADP. Now, he wasn't some like dominant player. Obviously, you drafted him with the upside, which we ended up seeing if Harris ever went down. Stevenson's incredible, right? He didn't necessarily hit that ceiling because I think Harris missed it like 1, maybe 2 games, but we saw the possibility. And before anyone's like, oh, well, it's very, very rare. Like, Belichick just never gives rookies touches. Stevenson, like I'm talking about this exact scenario happened last season. Stevenson had 133 carries, was a top 40 running back in points per game just behind Tony Pollard. Like, we just saw the Patriots draft a rookie that everyone thought was not going to play, and they got a ton of touches. Why can it not happen this season when the exact same scenario could happen? They could trade away Damian Harris. Stevenson's the 1, Strong's the 2, and Strong would have a larger passing game role than we saw Harris or Stevenson have. I think there's a reason they drafted him. I think they're going to use him, especially down the line, but that could happen quicker than people think. And that's one of those players whose ADP could skyrocket. You always want to invest in players who have some sort of path to really, really outproducing where you got them, especially into week 1, right? So there's a lot of players going late that you know their ceiling. You know that if we draft now and then draft in August, they're not going to end up being, a pick in the top 10 rounds. But if certain things happen in the Patriots backfield and we get Strong as like a clear number 2, because that's a possibility with the unknown of how White's recovering and the unknown if they're going to keep Harris, there's a chance he skyrockets in ADP, so he's a good guy to take now. At tight end, I narrowed this down to Logan Thomas and Noah Fant. Then I nearly threw up knowing that I was choosing between, the Seahawks and the Commanders. Both graded out as really strong values, but I looked into Logan Thomas a little bit more and I had to bump him down the board. He's going off the board as the tight end, 23. I think I had him at like 17 or something like that. I bumped him down to basically what average is because I was looking into the injury and it wasn't like a clean ACL tear. There was like other damage as well. And so while he said he's like, ahead of recovery or whatever, we can't really take their word for it when they say that. And it didn't seem like a lock that he was going to be good to go to start the year. It didn't even seem like he was a lock to like be playing, 100% of the snaps come, week 4, week 5. And I just thought, nah, I don't really want to include him as a sleeper if he's going to start the season, maybe on the PUP, maybe on the IR. Like, we don't really know at this point, but it seems like it's a long shot to be good to go in week 1, and so I bumped him down. So I'm going to go with Fant here. And I think it is important to point out that, and I've talked about this before, in my projections, I have Seattle as a horrible team this season, right? So I'm not accounting for Russell Wilson, obviously, but I'm not accounting for them to be like slightly below average. I have them last in total touchdowns. I have them last in plays per game, and with a top 10 rush rate, top 7 in rushing touchdown rate. Like, I have them running the ball a ton and not doing many plays. And so that is going to hurt, and it does hurt the passing projections of everyone in this receiving game. But even with that, I have Fant undervalued as the tight end 21. They, for some reason, paid Will Dissly this offseason. I don't really know what that was about. They said that there were other suitors. There were people like outbidding them. I don't know. I find that hard to believe. He played 15 games last year. His best 3 games, and remember, this is with Russell Wilson, was 3 for 37, 2 for 38, and 1 for 39. Like, those are his best games. many games where he did nothing. 1 total touchdown in the year. Like, he's also just like, very below average athletically. Like, he's not a threat to Noah Fant. Noah Fant is a top 5% athlete under any metric. He's been very productive in his first 3 seasons. He hasn't been like a top 5 fantasy tight end, but he's been very good amongst like tight ends in general in the NFL. He's been a good tight end. He is a much better tight end than Will Dissly. And if we look historically, the tight end 21 in points per game has averaged like 5.5 to 6.5 half PPR points. You look since being a rookie, 5.7 half PPR points as a rookie. Again, that's very difficult to do. Then 7.9 and 7.8. And this wasn't with better quarterback play. He's walking into the same situation, right? He's had bad quarterbacks. He's played specifically with Drew Lock, who's going to be his quarterback right now. Maybe it ends up being Geno Smith. Maybe they trade for someone. But the point is, he has played with quarterbacks just as bad as he's going to get. And so we don't really need to downgrade him all that much. And also look at the depth chart. I know that Metcalf and Lockett are there, and they're going to dominate the target share, right? Who else do they have? D. Eskridge, Freddie Swain, Bo Melton, Will Dissly. Like, that is a heaping pile of garbage, right? So Fant could absolutely be third in the target share on this team, which is way more than you can say about most fantasy tight ends, right? There are very few fantasy tight ends who are third on their team's target share. So if you're looking for just like an incredibly athletic young tight end who could have a high target share going really late in drafts, I think that Noah Fant has to be your pick. Our final position, wide receiver. We've got another name that nobody here is going to like. I've already talked about Wan'Dale Robinson this week many times before. You could include him here, but I didn't want to talk about him again. ADP 87 for wide receivers. My wide receiver is 67, so that's good value. But I'm going to go way down. We're going to go with Zay Jones, okay? Take a gander, if we're talking about depth charts for Noah Fant, take a gander at the Jaguars depth chart, right? Christian Kirk, clear number 1. Right? Not only is he most talented, but he's getting the large contract, being paid the most money. Like, he's the number 1. That's not changing. Then I think Marvin Jones is set up as the number 2, but Zay Jones is third in my eyes. Jamal Agnew is coming off a season-ending hip injury. We don't know what he's going to look like. He has yet to return to practice field, at least as of recording this. And he's not that fantastic of a player. I'm not super worried about him. The team is actively trying to trade away Laviska Shenault after he was incredibly disappointing last season and has a skill set that's kind of redundant with Travis Etienne. Not worried about him. Then we've got the just forever mediocre Laquan Treadwell. And looking at these two, you're like, okay, well, what if Laquan Treadwell is just better than Zay Jones? Well, the team doesn't think so, right? Because both these guys got new contracts this offseason. Zay Jones, what's he get? 3 years, $24 million, $5.5 million signing bonus, $14 million guaranteed, which includes this season and next season. They're invested in Zay Jones. He's not going anywhere these 2 years. Compare that to Treadwell. How invested are they in him? 1 year, $1.19 million, a $75,000 signing bonus, and only $75,000 guaranteed. Those contracts are not even close. Zay Jones is pretty clearly, to them, the number 3 receiver, unless Treadwell comes out there and just dominates camp, which is not something he's ever done before. So why would it happen this season? I think Zay Jones has the upside to overtake Marvin Jones as the number 2. Remember, Marvin Jones, 32 years old, has seen his catch percentage drop in 3 straight seasons, has seen his yards per target drop 3 straight seasons. In fact, like, Marvin Jones doesn't have any guaranteed money left in his 2-year deal. So the Jaguars don't technically have to keep him this season. I think they will, but they don't have to. There's a world in which Marvin Jones is not on the team this year because they don't have to keep him, and Zay Jones is now the number 2. Again, I think they will, but Zay Jones is the 101st wide receiver off the board, so his ADP is assuming that he's fighting for a number 3 role, not that there's a world where he's the number 2. And also, it assumes that like Trevor Lawrence is bad, that he's one of the worst quarterbacks in the league, which I still think is unlikely. I think we saw the absolute floor for Trevor Lawrence last season and that he's going to be significantly better this year. That ADP takes absolutely none of that into account, and it's another situation of, you know what, if I'm wrong, we're going to find out right away. You're going to watch week 1, see 1 target for Zay Jones, and be like, all right, this is someone I can drop because you weren't starting him, obviously. This is someone I can drop who's hot on free agency. I'll put all these bids in for these guys. Instead of having someone where like, oh, well, I know he's not going to do well for the first month, but I have to keep him, right? Because maybe he'll break out after that. Nah, let's just go with Zay Jones. We'll see what the role is. If he goes out there and has, 7, 8 targets, we're like, let's go. We got a really, really good pick late in drafts. If he doesn't, he stinks. He's number 4. Cut him. It doesn't cost you anything. Again, this is the last pick in your draft. So those are my biggest sleepers at each position. I'll be back tomorrow to go over the latest news, ADP changes from the last week, and then we'll be off Saturday before returning for another mock draft Monday. I have officially added the Underdog rankings to the site. I'm going to attach a video on like exactly how to use it, but it's so easy. You click download and then you go to Underdog and you click upload. It's very, very simple. I've made it as easy as possible for you guys. So if you have, all in, you've got sports betting, draft, I think it's included in all of those. Whatever package you have on the site, you can go over there. You want to play an Underdog, you want to get potentially a $100 deposit bonus. They'll match your deposit up to $100. Use promo code FFA. But that, my friends, is the end of this one. Hope you all enjoy. If you did, how about hitting the like button? And how about subscribing to the channel if you're new here? Thanks for watching.